and welcome to Aspire. I'm your host, Orion, and today we have Billy Inkslinger here with me tonight. He is a tattoo artist who does a lot of good for the community. And tonight he will tell us about his story of depression and how he got to where he is today. Hi, Billy.
How are you?
Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
So tell me about yourself. You do a lot of good for the community. You do a lot of fundraisers, but you weren't always here, and it's actually a recent development in the last year that you've turned your life around.
Yeah, I suffered depression back in 2010. I went through a lot of stuff, and today I fought for what I have today. I believed in myself. I got myself out of the depression, and now I'm a successful tattoo artist today, and I pay it forward as my key, as you can see on my hat. It's one of my logos. I pay it forward every day.
So let's talk about the depression, because I think there's people out there who are interested in having this topic this topic discussed, because it's not something that people talk about so openly. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you.
Me to talk about it.
I'm hoping, and I'm so open in this because I want people to understand how very severe it is, and people just think it's not much, and it's, someone having a bad day. It goes a lot deeper than that. Depression's very bad, and it almost cost me my life in 2010.
So tell me how you got into the depression. Was there can you pinpoint when you were there, or was it a gradual change?
It gradually built up. I mean, a lot of things started going wrong. Work slowed down.
And what were you doing at the time?
I was a carpenter doing construction, and the construction industry slowed down. So then, of course, with that slowing down, you don't have much money. You can't pay your bills. And with that, it's a bad effect. It just keeps going and going. I mean, I lost my apartment, and the car would break. Then I would wonder about how I'm going to pay, for my kids, and how am I going to pay my rent. And a series of events just kept going, and it just eventually makes you feel like you're worthless in the society, and it takes over your mind, and depression sets in, and it just keeps happening. And it was happening and happening, and I reached out to get help from the doctors.
So I think you were working in construction, and then your lung collapsed from being depressed.
Yeah, I actually, no one even knew why, but Christmas in 2010, I was hospitalized with a collapsed lung and fluid around my heart, and they really didn't have an explanation, and I honestly don't know why, but I was severely depressed, homicidal, suicidal. I did everything I could to try to get help and save my own life, and it was not working out well, and I lost somebody that was really close to me when I was in the hospital, suffering from the depression in the lung.
So this became a downward spiral.
Bad, so bad. It actually was destroying my body. I lost 27 pounds in 2 months' time.
So what was going on in your head? What were you thinking at the time? You say you were homicidal, suicidal.
Yeah,
these are really
could be very
difficult.
Yeah, I could be very happy. I could be very sad, all in 5 minutes. I would have a hard time getting through normal everyday life. My mind was taken over by the depression. In a depression state, you're not yourself. There is no way you are yourself. You need to control your mind. Once your mind controls you, you don't have control. And it took me 6 months to a year to control my mind. There was so much bad going on in my life. It was a downward spiral, and it kept going. Every day there was some other big major issue, a turn of events in my life that would just keep wiping me out, and I just felt like I didn't need to live anymore. I felt like I was useless.
Were there people, was there family or your daughters who were there to help you and talk you out of it? My family's kind of distant from me a little bit. I was in the hospital for 4 days, and no one visited me at all. A little longer. It was horrible. It was Christmas 2010. I sat in Leahy Clinic looking out a window in a snowstorm for 4 days. No one. And I didn't want my kids to know. I hid it from my daughters. One day I'll never forget, I brought my daughter to dance class, hip-hop dance class, and I had to call her mom and said, look, you have to come take her and relieve me. I can't do this. I need to go to a hospital. So I was very suicidal, and the thoughts in your mind, like you want to just die, is horrible. But why? Why were you thinking
Because
that?
I had no money. I couldn't have a Christmas. I couldn't give my kids presents. I couldn't pay my bills. The car broke. So you're gonna walk and live on the streets. It's a big fear of living on the streets, not being able to take care of yourself. And I would walk around with what they call a poker face, and I would smile like everything was okay. And doing that in a long period of time made me even more depressed, saying, you know what, I'm faking how happy I am to the world, and it really got to me deeper. Putting on a show out in the public, like if you saw me, you wouldn't know I was severely depressed, and I lost my house and my car broke and I had nothing, and I was bouncing from friends to friends, living on their couches, and then I felt like I was wearing out my welcome everywhere I went, and it wasn't ever going to end.
Yeah, that can't be
No.
easy to, and it's not, so therefore it's not easy to spot someone who's depressed.
They can hide it really well.
Yeah.
I hid it really well for my kids. I had a few people in my life that would call and check on me because the way I was talking and acting. When you're severely depressed, it's not your mind. It's a different mindset, and you don't care, and you start talking crazy, not saying I'm going to kill myself, I'm going to hang myself. It's just weird things like someone would invite you over to a cookout that you go to every year your entire life, and their family and friends, and you have a great time. You're like, well, I don't know if I'm going to make it. I don't know what I'm doing. And they ask me, well, don't you have any plans? You come here every year. I'm like, yeah, I'm not feeling well. I just might go for a walk. And they know that it's not the normal me for years of being a friend. Mm-hmm. And they pick up on it, and then they reach out to me and say, how are you doing? And it felt good to know that someone cared. But depression is the worst.
Sometimes you just feel like you can't put on that show, that face to a bunch of people.
I put on that show for a long time, and that severely depressed me even worse because I was faking how great my life was and smiling, walking down the street like there was nothing wrong. And I'm bouncing around from house to house with no money, staying on my friends' couches and wearing out my welcome, and I felt like I was a burden in their life and they need their privacy. There was no place to go but on the streets, really.
You eventually lived in the woods.
In my car.
In your car.
I lived in my car, 495 rest area, friends' driveways, parking lots. And then when you start doing that nowadays, the police will come up to your window and think you are drinking or something wrong, and then they just shoot you out of there. But it just was a never-ending circle of hell, living in hell.
Did anyone spot eventually that you were not yourself? That you were depressed?
Yeah, like I said before, a little bit of irregular conversations with me. I mean, you feel lost in the world when your mind takes over and you feel like you're a useless individual and you have no reason or willpower to live. And that's not an average person. It's a very serious thing, depression. And I fought day in and day out, and I went to the doctors for help. I went to the doctors and they changed my medicine I don't know how many times for. And I would have bad side effects. I almost killed somebody with my hands.
Aren't the drugs supposed to help you?
Yeah, they are, but people have side effects. And when I went in, I was angry at the doctors, and I'm saying to them, am I here to be helped, or am I here for you to kill me or kill somebody else in another way with this medicine? And they would say, well, William, that's a side effect. Let's try this, and let's try that. So then you start that vicious cycle of a little bit of a time, weaning off of something and going on something. It takes a long time. I mean, me personally, I'm not a doctor, but I'm dead set against any medication whatsoever because I saw the devil in my eyes that I've never seen before. I was scared. I was very, very scared. And I weaned myself off it and pretended to the doctors I was doing it. And one doctor said, don't go home and sleep. Worst thing you can do in depression, I want everyone to know, is to curl up in a ball in bed in the fetal position and just sleep. It's the worst possibly thing you could do, and that was one of the best outcomes I had. Was listening to a doctor said that to me once, and go out and exercise and go to the gym or do something and burn off that anxiety. And pretty much that's what saved my life. I'm in the best shape. Yeah, I'm in the best shape of my life now. I'm almost 45 years old, and I'm in better shape than I was my entire life. And depression is what built my body to the way it is today. Mm-hmm. I would walk around the lakes, and at night, 3 in the morning, I would walk till my muscles burned, and it would help me sleep. It would burn off that anxiety because I stopped medication.
You must be so tired after all that walking.
That's what helped me sleep through the night. And then sometimes I would drink nips of alcohol just to try to take that, just to pass out for a little bit and then wake back up wondering The worst part of depression is waking up not knowing where you're going. You're not even concerned about work. You're not concerned about nobody in the world, but like trying to figure out in your mind, where am I going today? And you have no clue.
So how did you eventually get out of that?
Probably I would have to say that one night I was in my house and I had a loaded gun to my head and I was going to take my life. And I begged and I begged and begged and said, just keep me alive for my children. What do I got to do? I'll help the world tenfold of what I've always done. I need to be here for my children. My daughter was diabetic. I told you earlier, she's a type 1 diabetic and she needs me. All my kids need me, but when you're in a depression state, nobody needs you. You feel like a useless individual in society, and the whole world loves you. No one, you know, there's people there that suffer. Right. So I fought for my life. I begged for mercy to please keep me alive, and I'll do good.
You're in charge of your own life, though.
Yeah, you are, but when in depression, how I explain it to a lot of people is depression is like, your mind's like a locomotive on tons of caffeine, and there's no stopping it. Your mind takes over and you do the craziest things like you would never ever do. You start not taking showers, you can start drinking beer and you never drink beer. It makes you do what your body's calling and what your body needs to just pacify a couple more minutes of your life. So it's just pacifying the days. And I started walking around in circles with my headphones on and I listened to a lot of upbeat, inspiring music. And would walk and walk and walk. Then I started going to the gym. One of my friends got me a gym membership, and I started training.
So your mood eventually got better from just the exercise, and
with so much negative happening.
Did the loading the gun to your head happen before or after you started exercising?
Before. That was the rock bottom. I wrote suicide letters to my children, and I had a loaded gun to my head, and it was horrible. So what happened was I gave my guns to some of my friends who were police. I said, lock these up until I get through this. I took them guns away and I started rebuilding every day, like minute by minute, of trying to be happy and believing in myself and good things would happen. Working out, not sleeping. Sleeping is the key. You go to bed and you're just in this rut that you cannot get out of.
How did you get through that night of being on the verge of taking your own life?
Suicide. It was very hard. What I did was
because the way I imagine it is unless there's some sign from God, since you're talking to God.
Yeah, I was. I'm not a religious person in any means. I do go to church and I do all that stuff, but I begged for my life with God, and I said, you know, my children need me, and the world needs me, and I need you to keep me here and help me, and I will help. I said, let me be a living angel. Let me go out and spread my wings, and I'll do tenfold of what I've always helped people in my life. I said, I will do tenfold, and I will help so many people every day if you can keep me alive.
How did you eventually put down the gun that night?
I felt like I struck the deal and must have been in my mind. I don't know, that's a really tricky question. I mean, in my mind, I felt that the deal was done. There was no sign from up above or anything like that. It was, I begged, and I said, if you keep me alive for my children, I will help so many people and I will change this world one person at a time if you just give me that chance. And I felt like by saying that it was a done deal. Okay. That's all I can say. It was a done deal. Yeah. I put all that stuff away. Like I said, I gave my guns to my friends and locked them up. And I fought every day after that. And it was a long fight. It was 6 months of not knowing when I woke up where I was going, if I was working, if I was going to eat. I couldn't tell you where I was going. I had to get in the cars or walk to wherever I was going, and I'd end up at somebody's house saying hi. It was crazy. Crazy.
That must have helped your mood to have a conversation with someone and to start being social again.
And the other thing, part of depression, is, I'm glad you said that, is that's key too. A lot of people and doctors and stuff like that would tell me, like working out, don't hold it in. Don't be ashamed ever to tell anybody that you're suicidal, homicidal, or depressed. Talk about your problems and have people help you through them. If not, just venting to somebody else and having a shoulder to cry on can save a life. I've done it many times. Talk about what's going on. Is one of the most important things I can express is talk about it, because holding that all in, you can't hold things in like that.
So you were depressed, you lost your house, you lost your car, you were living from friends in friends' driveways or at friends' homes or in your own car, not having a home. And so after doing these walks and exercising, you started getting out of this depression.
Rebuilding slow.
How did you get into tattooing?
So there was a big, I'm glad you said that. There was a big change in me. Always. Now, coming out of that negative down spiral, I tried to turn myself into this positive thing, because I watched a movie called The Secret, like I had said earlier. Amazing. It's positive, and negative energy draws negative, and positive draws positive. So what I did was, part-time, I used to teach myself to tattoo. I was always inspired to be a tattoo artist and own my own shop. So I sat there one day, and Inkmaster, a friend was over in Inkmaster, come on the TV, and we're talking. I said, someday I'm going to do that. And it's, you know what, I put an idea in my head. I started a Facebook, and I started tattooing people here and there, and getting back into it. It was a part-time thing. And I said, you know what, I'm going to make this happen. And then as I crawled out of the depression, I said, you know what, I can probably get myself into being a tattoo artist and live my dream, and then, you know what, I will help others. And I used that as a great opportunity, and because I always wanted to be a tattoo artist, and a lot of the tattooing nowadays, if you ever notice, like people have memorials and things that mean a lot, and a lot of tattoos become a closure for a lot of people this day and age. Someone's loved ones, lost children and whatnot, and I get into that. And I started a little Facebook going and promoting. It was just enough money to keep me afloat to eat. You know what I mean? Every day.
How did you start it without having any money?
Because I had the stuff from years ago that just sat in the garage. And
were you just doing it on the street for people then?
Yeah, I was going to houses, and I would go to houses and stuff like that. I had enough to keep me going. I already owned the equipment per se, and ink and stuff like that, and some needles and tubes and all the things. And I had all that just sitting aside, not using it because I was in construction. And the doctors, when I was in the hospital, told me, you cannot work. You can't take the chance of having your lung collapse more. If it collapses again, we're going to have to put these tubes in your lungs and stay out of work for 2 weeks. And I said, you know what, the heck with it. I'm not climbing a ladder and heavy things and digging. Tattooing and sitting in a chair, it's less strenuous work. It's all up in the mind and the skill. I had enough to get me going. I was using the wrong size tubes, and because I didn't have the money to buy more tubes and the right stuff, so I'd use what I had. And when I would do one, I'd spend a couple dollars just to get a little bit more supply to bring me to the next, you know what I mean? I'd scrape the bottom of the barrel and would take,
you really bootstrapped it.
Yeah, I would make it happen, and then a little bit of money, I would, try to pay my phone to have a phone, or I'd try to eat or whatever, and then I would spend a little bit of money getting supplies, and it spiraled in an upward positive way.
Do you remember your first customer?
My first.
Because that's the one that started the ball rolling for you.
Yeah, I want to say it's my friend Anthony, and customer, and he had a lot to do with it. He actually reminded me about sitting with me when I was tattooing him. Inkmaster came on the show, and I said, someday I'm going to be doing that. And that was one of the only positive things I had said in months. And I was tattooing angel wings on his back because he had cancer in his brain when he was a young boy, and he wasn't even supposed to walk. And he walks. He actually has his associates, I think, in engineering. He has an amazing job. And for some reason, his tattoo would never take, and it took me almost a year to complete. I did huge angel wings on his back. And he's probably one of the first that I remember, because he had made a comment the other day, because I actually got picked to go on the Inkmaster show.
He sounds like a great friend.
He is a good kid. He's a real good kid.
And how did you get your subsequent customers?
I
imagine you knocking on the door.
Well, no, I would post, anyone wants them, I would call my friends, anyone that wants a tattoo, I'll do it really cheap. I'm learning, do it for free, whatever not. And then I started charging a little bit at a time. And once you do one, and you do a good job, and then it starts to be getting better and better, then people start following, because your artwork travels the streets, it travels the world, and people are so excited to show it. You know, like, oh, look what I got, it's like getting a new car. So that brought me up to doing a little bit and a little bit, and it was enough to carry me through that winter. And I started following suit, and then I would start doing tattoo parties. It took me a good year and a half to start rolling.
What's a tattoo party?
I would go to your house, and you'd have a bunch of groups of friends over, and everyone would want tattoos, and one after another, we'd design and do them. You get like 5 people together, and you host it at your house, and you'll get yours for free while your friends get tattooed.
Oh, wow.
That's how I taught myself.
And when did you start giving back to the community?
When I had a lot of people help me out, I wanted to be a tattoo artist, and I wanted to get licensed and open a store, and I had a lot of people reach out to help me, give me a little bit odds and ends, furniture and curtains and paint. And I had a friend actually say, here's the key. If you know you can make this shop work, we got belief in you that you will do it. And that gave me an adrenaline rush like no other. And I started nickel dime, and it was a long journey, and I was not leaving that store until my tattoo shop was up and running. And I made it happen last year, 2013. I opened the doors, and it was a trip and a half, but I didn't give up.
That's amazing.
There it is. Last year, December 1st, was basically my grand opening. And like I said before, I started with 47 followers on my new shop page, and today I'm known worldwide with over 11,000. And I take the profits from my store. I make just an average pay just to get by, and the profits and I would give out free tattoos to people for events and fundraisers. And if I gave a couple of them out free, it would, you know, people could make a couple $100s on the raffle tickets. And it started becoming a regular thing. And the people from the party would come see me, and that's going to be a new customer. And once I get a new customer, it follows suit. And it's come back around in a full circle, because today I'm very successful with what I do, and I'm known around the world, and I'm living my dream. It don't get better from being in a complete hell of depression, not having no avenues to turn, going to doctors for help. And it was just like, it wasn't working. I had to do this on my own, and every minute of every day, try to convince myself that it's going to be better, and it will work.
It's having these positive conversations with yourself.
Yes, it is. It's very important. And the positive, too. And I learned, you know, I've always helped others and stuff, and I learned that paying it forward is a really good reality check for people in general, because it lets you see the real world. I go out and hit the streets and take care of the homeless. And when I go out there, I talk to these homeless people and hand them gift cards, see if they need anything. I have a huge network of people that help me now. It's unbelievable. I can't, without them, guys, you wouldn't believe the stuff that we pull off on these missions.
Can you tell me about them?
I could start off with last year's Christmas mission. My mission was to reach out and help a couple families that didn't have much. And I was going to chip in, and I posted on my Facebook and stuff, and I said, you know, let's help this family. And then I had this idea to help the shelters. My idea this year was just to help the shelters, give somebody a pair of gloves or a hat, and wrap it up so they would have a gift, and they're homeless. They have nobody or nothing. So imagine being homeless in a shelter and having a gift from a human standing there and handing it to you. That's an amazing feeling. And it feels so good. It's like, it's an adrenaline rush. It's good medicine to be able to help. And you see how bad the real world is. So it's a reality check. That went overnight success. We helped 3.5 complete families having the most amazing Christmas they ever had. And we did an entire shelter in Lowell, Mass, with like 98 people in it. And every one of them people in the shelter kept getting gifts. There was like 7 to 10 gifts a piece. It was supposed to be a small help a family. But this is, so you know, I mean, this is the network that I build. It feels great to help people. It's good for reality. We go in a fast-paced world. We do our thing. There's a lot of people on the streets that have nothing, and a lot of people have lost nothing. Children, we help the children's shelters. I had stuff donated as far away as Australia for the last event I did. Australia. They sent me $250 worth of goods.
From Australia, that's so far away.
Right, And then we did the shirt off our back ride. We raised clothes and money for the shelter in Lowell. There's a family shelter. There's a Middlesex Street shelter. A couple months ago, I lost a really close friend. And the community reached out and filled their oil tank for heat for the kids and hot water. They had no money. This guy passed away suddenly. It was horrible. My good friend Jason. It was my backbone to help me promote my shop, to get me out of my depression and my dream. In 7 days, me and my following, my community, we raised 10 grand and paid for his funeral in cash full.
Wow.
In a week. We paid for a complete funeral so he could have the best send-off for his family in the world. And that he did because of the following. So it pays to be a person to pay it forward and share what you've done.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm
It's amazing. I mean, you're gonna make me cry. I have to tell you, I have the most amazing wall in my shop. If you come in there, I know you'll leave and you will cry.
It's just so inspiring to hear you talk about these things, because people get so wrapped up in their own lives, and
yeah, and a lot gets slipped under the rug and no one sees, but I'll tell you, I've changed many lives with my story.
And I think you're going to change a lot of lives with your story here.
I have to. I can't give up the deal. I can't, it's hard, you're making me choke. I can't give up that deal. I want to change the world, and I do it every day.
Well, I thank you so much for being with me tonight and telling me about.
If we
your
can
personal
save one
stories.
life, anybody out there with depression, we did our job.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm your host, Orion, and thank you for joining me tonight. I'm not right now. Thanks for Billy for joining me, and hope you have a wonderful night.